welcome to everybody here in our live studio audience and all of you at home watching this in post, or streamed live. Welcome. I have a great class today. We're going to talk about prelims.
Woohoo!
Yeah,
prelims. My favorite.
I know, right?
Super exciting.
Look, we're going to go over some of the stuff that you need to look out for, why get a prelim, when to get a prelim, opening up escrow, and I have the pleasure.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far.
Well, the dear pleasure of having some great people from WFG Title.
This isn't going to be shared with the authorities, is it?
No,
Okay.
this is, look, anything I do is not shared with anybody, right? But I want to thank you, Henry
Yep,
and
pleasure.
Jamie,
Yep.
for coming here and helping me with this because, look, let's face it, I'm just a realtor. I just know that I'm supposed to look at a prelim and it's supposed to be pretty much full of baloney, and then see if there's anything that stands out. But we're going to go through today with Geraldine, who's here, who's the escrow officer.
She is.
Right. That's
Yes.
helps
Right there.
guide us through these things and tell us about these things and what to look out for. We have a great prelim that we're going to be going through.
Yeah,
that
they have
has
some real humdingers on there.
Yeah.
So,
That's a
yeah, it's
nasty
gonna be
one.
good.
So let's, get this started, and I'll give you a few moments to
Sure.
talk about WFG, why WFG, and we'll go from there. Here you go.
Sure.
Take that.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having us. We really appreciate it. WFG, WFG is a company that was started about 11 years ago by the ex-president of F&F Group. So, the Chicago Titles of the world, the Ticors, etc. When he left F&F, he was also on the board for First American for a time. He wanted to do it better, so that's how WFG came about. He wanted to get into this, back into the business and do it better. So we've been around for about 11 years. We're the largest, we're the quickest growing, fastest growing title insurer in the country right now. So basically the way it works is West Coast is basically direct operations like what we have here in Nevada, and East Coast is basically all agency. So right now, fastest growing title insurer in the country. We also have no institutional debt, so we don't have to rely
It's
on...
always good.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Very important.
Pay off those credit cards. Pay off those car loans. But so it's a fabulous company. It's they like to do things a little bit different. We have a separate company called West. I'll have Jamie talk about that a little bit. But yeah, just again, thanks for having us. It's always a pleasure to see you, Tom. And it's always a pleasure coming here. So, yep, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Do I have to use a microphone?
Yeah.
Microphone.
For the folks at home, right?
Oh, the folks at
Not
home.
necessarily for the live studio audience, but for the folks at home.
I don't know if we can fit any more in here. There's oh my God, it's huge in here. You need more seats in here for sure, yeah.
We do.
Okay, so I'll speak a little bit about the local operation in a department or our sister company, West, who employs Jeff Zimfer, who is our MTD, and that means Marketing Technical Director, okay? He is our social media type of guy, and I'm just gonna read off a list of different classes that he puts on for the real estate community, which it also looks like we're gonna get a class with him in here very soon. So just a quick little rundown. He does the ultimate guide to choosing a real estate CRM, Instagram and YouTube for real estate, getting started with video, 10 ways to get more listings now, real estate disrupted and how to survive and thrive through the shift, personal branding for real estate, and what to post on social media. So you can see that's an array of different topics that he teaches on that can help you grow your own personal business. And as far as the local operation, I wanted to mention that the last year, even during the pandemic, we have exploded with growth. We have been lucky enough to have 5 escrow officers join us at WFG, as well as 3 sales reps and a multitude of different assistants. So I think that says a lot about WFG here locally and our company. So I think it is probably time to turn it over to Miss Geraldine, who joined us in July. And we're so happy that she's here. She is very, very knowledgeable in title and escrow. It's been 28 years. And of course, we have to mention Gina.
I know.
Can we swing the camera over that way?
No, come on up, Gina. Come on up.
You know what? Battle the
Gina.
crowd and come on over here.
Come on up. Get some FaceTime for those folks at home, so you aren't a stranger
Yeah.
when you come in.
Hi.
How
So everybody knows Gina. I know a lot of people do. Gina's been in title and escrow real estate for
74 years.
some odd years. So anyhow, Gina's very, very good about helping with putting classes on for you guys, and she'll sit with you one-on-one and help you implement some of the things that she thinks and what Jeff thinks would help with your business.
She knows way more about title and escrow than you and I
Oh,
do.
yes, she does.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know anything about
And just
that.
remember, the title reps play a great, important part to real estate agents because they're the face that you get to yell to, that you get to complain to, that you can come and ask for the stuff that you need to help get your marketing done. It's a very important spot. Yours, and you feel so used sometimes, don't you? But that's okay. Use them, and if you're not using them, you're crazy. All right, so let me get you guys off stage.
Yep.
Come, Geraldine, come on. Thank you, Henry. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Yep.
Thanks, Tom. You there. Okay, give my girl a kiss for me.
I will. So, Geraldine,
Yes.
it's all yours.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure being here. This is an amazing office. I can't believe how beautiful and big it is. It's amazing. My name is Geraldine Adamite. Last name rhymes with dynamite. So I'm the Dynamite Adamite team. It's spelled a little weird, so you definitely have to look at it. We're going to be talking about prelims today and why you need a prelim and how you can open what we call a pre-escrow, which is very beneficial and helpful to you as an agent, especially when you're competing with other agents for the listing. So does everybody have a handout? I believe so. Wonderful. So we're going to get started. Once you have a contract and you've selected your escrow officer, Team Adamite, then you will send the contract to your escrow officer and we'll start a title search. The title search not only searches the property, but it also searches the seller's name. So we'll be looking for judgments or liens against the seller. So if there's a child support lien, if there's a tax lien, that's all going to come up. Those things actually attach to the property. So we have to clear those up before the seller can convey title to the buyer. So let's get started. If you'll pull out your preliminary report from your packet, the very first page, you'll see in the middle, it'll say seller and buyer and property. So our seller on this one is Roger Rabbit. Our buyer is Clint Eastwood. And our property is 4990 Babbitt Drive in Las Vegas. So it's important to note who the seller is because you want to make sure that you're speaking to the proper person that can sell the property. So if Roger Rabbit is our seller and you're talking to Snow White, you shouldn't be talking to Snow White. She can't help you, she can't do anything. You need to be talking to Roger Rabbit. Okay? So let's go ahead and turn the page. So the second page is Schedule A, and this is just showing the out to homeowners policy and the loan policy, so it's going to be the sales price and loan amount. And then it's going to show again the owner of the property. We have Roger Rabbit, an unmarried man. Nevada is a community property state, so spouses always need to sign something. They need to sign on or they need to sign off. So Roger Rabbit may have acquired the property as an unmarried man, but he may have gotten married since then. So even though he acquired the property as an unmarried man, we'll still be asking for marital status, and if he's married, we'll be requesting a quitclaim from the spouse. Okay? Let's turn the page. And then we have our legal description. And then the next page, we'll see our Schedule B and our Schedule Special Exceptions. Schedule B, these are items that remain on most every property. So those are for like the subdivision or the county. The special exceptions, those are specific to our property. So you'll see number 1, reservations, 2, water rights, mineral rights, CC&Rs, easements. Those are all things we cannot remove. Those stay with the property. Okay? So turn the page here, and now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. So on page 5, you'll see at the top are our taxes. And then number 9, you know, if they're in the sanitation district, what we do when the transaction is opened is we start ordering not only the title work, but we also start ordering the what we call demands or payoffs. So we'll be contacting Republic Services, Clark County Sanitation, to see if they're current. If the seller's not current, we'll be bringing those current through closing. So we'll contact sewer, trash, HOA, to make sure everything's current. Number 10 you'll see is a deed of trust. A deed of trust is a loan. Now a lot of people will think that this deed of trust is the payoff amount. It's not the payoff amount. This is the initial amount when they acquired the loan. So you'll see it shows Roger Rabbit, the lender beneficiary RNB, and then the original amount is $237,500. So that was the initial amount when they took out the loan. That is not the payoff amount. And then you'll see there was an assignment of the deed of trust. And then you'll see there was a substitution of the trustee. And then you'll see a notice of default. Notice of default, that means foreclosure. So you're going to want to keep an eye on those deeds of trust. It's not, you can't just go, oh, deed of trust loan, looks like they have two loans on the property. You've got to go through there and see if it's been assigned, if there's a foreclosure. There's extra steps that'll need to be taken on those.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah, for the foreclosure, like, does it matter if it's like recent? I mean, I know it matters if it's recent. Does it matter if it's 10 years ago or something?
Well, there would be a rescission. So if a notice of default has been filed, there would be a rescission on that,
Okay.
if they brought it current.
Okay.
Good question, thank you. And then number 11, financing statement. Financing statements are for personal property. This one's for solar. Solar is more and more common in our area with our sun.
Did I say I hate solar?
With our sun and the energy that we can get from the sun, solar's very, very popular here. So when you see solar on a sale of property, the seller either needs to pay it off or the buyer needs to assume it. So if the seller's paying it off, we need to know that so that we can request the payoff statement. If the buyer is assuming the solar, the buyer will need to contact the solar company and get approved. And that's important for the lender to know also. So your lender, the buyer's lender will be reading this as well to see the solar and see if it's been approved for the assumption. Another thing financing statements would be water heaters, water softeners. Those are all personal property items. Okay. Number 12, look at that, a federal tax lien. Yay! Those take a couple weeks to get the payoff in. So if we see that, we'll be sending out documentation to the seller actually right away, because the seller or the IRS has forms, authorization forms that need to be completed in order for the IRS to release information to us for, number one, if it's our party. Might not be our party, but we'll still need the authorization form for the IRS to release information to us. And then if it is our party, it takes the IRS a couple weeks to get us the payoff. Next one, number 13, a judgment. Child support, spousal. Yeah, if somebody's not making their payments, that's a problem when you go to sell the home. So make sure you keep your payments current on your child support, or we'll bring them current at the closing. So yes, those do again attach. So we search the names in addition to the property. So if there's a child support lien out there, we'll be requesting the payoff for the child support lien to bring it current. All right, another tax lien. This is a state of Nevada tax lien. And you'll also see under there it says requirements,
Wait a minute,
statement of
wait a minute,
information.
We don't have taxes in Nevada. So how could there be a tax lien?
It could be a business.
Ah.
Yeah, it could be a business that the buyer or seller has.
If they had an SBA loan, that might be in there, included there as well.
Exactly. Yeah, so if there's a business loan,
This Roger Rabbit has a lot of them.
right. So yeah, stay away from Roger Rabbit.
Rabbit's always bad.
Yeah.
Yes,
Statement of information, you'll see that when, the majority of time when it's a common name. So if you have a Smith or a Johnson, a Rodriguez, the common names will request a statement of information. That helps our title department determine whether the liens or judgments are our party or not. Because a lot of times a lien or judgment may come up and it's not our party. And the only way we know that is for the statement of information, in order for us to compare that against our buyer or seller.
Yeah, let's go through that a little bit more.
Yes.
The statement of information is that damn questionnaire
Yes.
that you guys send out after we've opened up escrow, that the seller or buyer goes, why do I have to give all this information about myself to title?
Yes.
Right? Well, this is why.
This is
Because we want
why.
to make sure that nobody else's junk ends up
Exactly.
in the prelim that you end up having to pay off.
Exactly.
Great way to sell it, right? They're going, why are you being so, into my stuff? And that's because we don't want somebody else's stuff to get paid off in your deal. So make sure that's a great reason for it, is to make sure that everything that you're going to have to pay off is just yours and not somebody else's that's just happens to be attached because the names were similar. Common names, similar names, whoever, but just that's why, okay?
For example, Roger Rabbit Jr. may not be paying his child support. And Roger Rabbit Sr. is the one selling and owning the property. So we get a lot of that where we need the additional information to determine, okay, is this junior or senior? So that's really important. And it's no fun for us either to send those statement of informations out. We hate it. It's like, now we gotta wait because then we provide title with additional information and it may come back that there's nothing. There may be nothing additional that we may need to deal with, or it might come back with here, you have 10 judgments you need to clear. And we're like, oh man, come on, Roger Rabbit. Let's not do this. All right. And then the final item, number 16, is a conservation easement. So conservation easements, those are pretty common. That's where the property has been restricted from pool or grass. So if you have somebody that really likes the property, buyer really likes the property, wants to purchase the property, they want to put a pool. They're like, oh wow, what a great big backyard, I want to put a pool in. and Prelim comes out and there's a conservation easement. They're not going to be able to put the pool in. So the conservation easement is really important. I have heard instances where people have gone to, I think it's a city or county.
The Water Authority. 'Cause
Water
the
Authority,
conservation
thank you.
easements are from the Water Authority because they've bought into the fact of getting rid of the grass and going to, water smart landscaping, and they've gotten money to do it, or gone to AstroTurf and gotten money to do it from the Water Authority. They slap a notice on your prelim on the property so that it can't be changed down the road, and that continues on for the life of the property until the only way to get out of it is to go back to the Water Authority and pay them back the money that somebody else had gotten, whether it be the prior owner or the owner before that, and clear that up so that then you can put in that water using pool. Yes.
Water feature.
If the property already has a pool, you can go smart, or they're gonna?
Yes, because they're just going to put a conservation easement on the section of property that they changed and really sort of purchased back, right? Because there was lawn. So I have a pool and I have a lawn. Right now, if I want to change the lawn to water saving landscape, that section, but my pool still stays.
And when you sign that thing, like, so if there's no pool for that property ever? until-
Well, no, if I already had a pool, then I continue to have a pool. But if you don't have a pool, then you can't do anything that would cause excessive water usage, and a pool evaporates, right? So they use a lot of water. Trust me, I have a $200 water bill sometimes. So, yeah, so that's what that conservation easement is all about, right?
It is very important.
Look at the prelim to see.
Right. So if you've got a buyer that's looking to put in a pool, or they want a property with a pool and there's a conservation easement, there's going to be some conversations. Either negotiate with the seller or go to the water authority. And that is the end of our items for Roger Rabbit. You'll see it says end of schedule. And then it'll go on to say notes and requirements. It states what type of property it is. It's a single-family residence. And then it'll state the last deeds in the past 24 months. That verbiage is on there mostly for the lenders. The lenders want to know if there's been a transfer of property or a conveyance of property in the past 2 years. Now that comes up a lot. I'm just going to state this as a kind of a note. There's a 90-day rule where the lenders look at if there's been a conveyance of title on a property in the past 90 days. They consider that a flip, and they have certain requirements for flips. So I've had several transactions actually, where people hold the title in an LLC, and they say, for the sale, I want to deed out in the trust, in our trust. And it's like, well, you don't record anything because you may throw the buyer's loan off if you go down and record something. So if you've got a husband and wife and the spouse needs to deed off, let us do that. Let us do that through the transaction. And if a seller wants to do any deeding or anything before the sale, they need to keep in mind that 90-day rule. That just came up with me last week, so I thought I would throw that out. So that's the end of our prelim. I do want to talk a little bit about our lien report. Our lien report is like a mini prelim. It's like 1 or 2 pages. So when you go out to your listing or listing presentation, shoot me an email, ask for a lien report. We're going to shoot it out to you, and it's going to tell you the owner of the property so that you know you're talking to the right authority, the person that has the authority. And it'll show you how many loans they have on the property. And if there's any liens recorded, that will show also. So, and it's really impressive to the owners. It's really impressive to the owners because you're going out and you're saying, oh, I see you have 2 loans on the property. And they might say, no, I only have 1. And then you say, well, it looks like you have one for, you know, $25,000 here. Oh, that was just for our patio, or that was just for our pool, or they forget that that is a loan against the property, or that's just an equity line that we have. Well, you're not going to be able to use that equity line anymore because it's attached to the property. So don't go charging it up and renting your U-Haul and all that stuff. So when we request payoffs for the equity lines, we actually request that the accounts be frozen so that they can't charge them up. Because we don't want to be at closing and we're paying off a $30,000 home equity line, and then at closing we pay them off, and then 2 weeks later the lender calls us and says, hey, you're $15,000 short. What do you mean we're $15,000 short? We have your payoff here. Well, they charged it up after your payoff, after you requested the payoff. So those are just important things on the equity lines. And then also during your listing presentation with that lien report, if there is, say, a homeowners association lien, you can say to them, oh, I see there was a homeowners association lien, you know, 6 months ago. Has that been brought current? And they're like, how do you know all this about my property? Whereas other agents are coming in and they know nothing. They know nothing. And you're asking them questions about research that you've done so that they know you're educated, you know what you're talking about, you did research on their property. So be sure to email me for those.
And let's talk about that, because the prelim report has a bunch of legal mumbo jumbo and it's very confusing, and hence why we even have this class to go through it. But the lien report brings out the stuff that you really need, that's going to be the hitch and the giddy up of your deal, right? One, you're going to know exactly who it is that can sell the property. I mean, there have been nightmares of talking to someone who is like maybe an aunt or an uncle wanting to sell the property, and they're not the one that can, and they sign the paperwork, and you're a few months into it selling the property, and you find out the paperwork you have and the ability to sell the property is no longer there, right? Because it was the wrong person that you had signed everything. You need to know that the person that you're dealing with, especially in listings, is the one that can actually do the deal, right? If it's an LLC, it may be held in an LLC, it may be held in a separate trust. You don't know, right? I mean, you have some idea when you look at the tax records, you know, the tax report, but let's face it, we don't always look at that all the time, you know? You're so happy to get the listing, you've talked to this person on the phone, they say, oh yeah, come list my house. And you go over there with your listing paperwork and you take the listing, and then you come back and find out, holy mackerel, this is not the guy that can sell the house. You know, this is John James, and Jim James is the guy that owns the actual house, his brother or whatever. You know, they may be having a fight because the dad may have, you know, the parents may have passed away and it needs to go to probate. You need to know who the heck you're dealing with. And having something like a simple lien report that takes how long?
Same day.
Right? So call them up, say, I need a lien report on this property, and you go there and you now know that you're dealing with the right people, and you also know what kind of loans they have, right? Maybe they don't have equity. You know, a lot of people have equity right now, so it doesn't matter that much right now, but I can assure you, coming down the pike, you're going to need to know exactly how much they owe, because they may not be able to sell the property without having to have an approval from the prior debtor to do the deal. So it's important, you know, we get so lazy when we have markets like this, that it's just list it, sell it, done, right? And when it tightens up, and it will tighten up, don't know when, you're going to have these bad habits, and people are going to get caught with their pants down because they went like they have always have been over the last few years, right? So it's important to know all these things. And other than the lien report, what other stuff can they get from you guys so that they know and put themselves above the rest?
You can request a lien report, you can request a property profile. The reason I request or mention the lien report is that it's just the 2 pages. It's just a really quick one. And it also helps you with your net sheet so that you know to ask them about 2 loans. You know to ask them about the HOA lien. You can put that on your net sheet so that you're giving a more realistic bottom line for them. You don't want to get down to closing and then go, hey, this isn't what we talked about, as far as proceeds. And then you're in a position, well, you didn't tell me about your equity line. You know what I mean? You don't want to be there. Or you didn't tell me about your child support lien, So you can have those conversations ahead of time. Yeah. And then once you actually have the listing, then you just shoot it over to me. Hey, I just took a listing on this property. Can you open a pre-escrow? When you have the listing and you ask for the pre-escrow, that's when we start the real in-depth title search. We'll get the preliminary title report done. We'll order the sewer in the trash. We'll get the HOA link ready so that when you have a contract, boom, we can just send that right over. It can be paid for, and we're moving right along. The pre-escrows are really good when you've got a quick closing coming up too, because we've already started half the work.
Yeah.
We've already been able to say, hey, ooh, we got a child support lien over here. We need a statement of information. We can get all that cleared up, get that all started, so that it's nice and smooth when you have a contract.
Any questions from our live studio audience right now?
No.
Hey, Beta, all those people looking online, watching this, are any questions coming up yet, right?
No, not yet.
Not yet? Okay. So let me ask you this. There's been some deals that I've seen that have, husband and wife, the husband may have screwed up, has judgments, he did the taxes, the taxes are sitting on there. What things can they do during escrow period to help? Trying to find out the way around all the rules, right? How do we get around the rules if it's a judgment on a husband and not the wife? Is there a way of separating the two short of divorce?
Unfortunately, there's not. Unfortunately, there's not. Even if the spouse owns the property by themselves, we still run that spouse's name because, again, we've got the community property interest. So even if that spouse had a potential interest for a split second, we have to deal with that. So unfortunately, we can't get around those. If one spouse has the problem, they both have the problem.
So let me rephrase that again. Even though I bought a property as a single man prior to getting hitched, another reason why not to get married, right? And the person that I just got hitched to has all kinds of judgments that I don't know about, right? As soon as that I do is done, those judgments get attached to the cool guy's credit.
That is correct.
Wow. So maybe you need a
That is
statement of
correct.
information done on your
On your
on the people that you're dating before you get married, so that you don't have that kind of issue, right?
Before the signature, hey Geraldine, can you run a quick search on this name?
No, okay, so let's say we have a prenup and all their stuff is there. Does that count?
That I would actually have to go through our title department for. I would let title tell us where we can navigate on
So
that.
like 30 years ago, I should have gotten a prenup. Right?
And
Right.
speaking of that too, I had an investor who had a partner, and he put his partner on a couple properties, and when they went to sell, she had IRS tax liens. He didn't know about it. It was more than the property was worth. He couldn't sell the property. He was so angry, of course, rightfully so. But yeah, you have to be careful who you're going into business with and who you're hooking up with, for sure.
All right. So, how easy is it? Let's sort of go into the fact that we got a deal, opening up escrow so that we get this all started. We didn't do the pre stuff because we weren't sure we wanted to use WFG and all that kind of stuff. But we've decided, we've negotiated, we have you guys on there. What does it really take to get this whole ball rolling and opening up escrows?
So once you send me the contract, that's when I'm going to ask you for your client's contact information. So I'm going to be asking you for your client's name and phone number and email address so that I can contact them and obtain their payoff information and their socials. I don't want you, I try to take the target off of your back so that you're not in that loop and obtaining that personal information. So I will send you a list of what I need as the buyer's agent and a list of what we need as the seller's agent. So as the buyer's agent, it's mostly the buyer's email address and phone number. And not just one buyer. If there's two buyers, we need it for both. We'll ask you for the home warranty invoice if they're obtaining a home warranty. We'll ask you for your transaction fee if you charge one, your transaction coordinator's email address if there is one. So we start the ball out asking you for information up front so that it can be a smooth transaction, so that we can start doing our job right away. I like to be proactive. I don't like to come down to the 11th hour and, oh my goodness, my spouse is in New York and we didn't even know you were married. Yeah, no thank you. I don't want to hear that. So yeah, we try to be proactive. We try to get all that information up front. The most common comment that I hear after a transaction is thank you for a smooth transaction. When I get that, I know that's awesome because that means you're happy, your client's happy, the other agent is happy, and I just love that. That's what I strive for my transactions.
And let's remember, it all starts with us in setting up the expectations for our clients. We're going into escrow. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to need to be telling the title person, the escrow officer, so that the Statement of Information Act should be coming. If you set them up properly and advise them of what's going to be coming down the pike, they'll be a lot more appreciative and not, I don't want to say this nicely, you're not going to be the agent that they complain about later because everything got sprung on them. Oh, this happened, oh my goodness. Oh, they had 5 other people on my prelim report that wasn't me with all their judgments and bad stuff, right? So just let them know that things are coming down the pike and this is all for their protection and making sure that they only have to pay off the stuff that they really owe and not somebody else's stuff. That's probably been the biggest issue that I've seen in prelim issues. Okay?
So one other thing I was going to say, so when you get your prelim from Geraldine, look at it. A lot of times people they won't look at it, and if you've got questions, shoot an email to her. It's at the end of the day, it's all of our responsibility to make sure that the transaction is smooth.
Sometimes you can miss something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have your back, you guys have our back, and it's at the end of the day, you'll learn, you'll be on that prelim and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is interesting. I'm sorry.
And make sure you send the prelim to your client to say, hey, just got this. This is the information that they have on you. Is there anything on there that's not correct?
That's true too.
Right? Because they're the ones that should know. Right? So just make sure that you communicate with them. Let them, the key to real estate, simple communication. The more we communicate and set up the expectations, the easier everything is for everybody, from the title reps to the escrow officers to the lenders, everybody. It's all about communicating and asking questions if it looks a little hinky.
And I have a follow-up on that. Please don't make me go fishing. I like to fish, but not during my escrows. So when I send you the list, and I say, you know, thank you so much for selecting me as your escrow officer, please send me, you know, seller's email address, seller's phone number, the total commission, the split between each agent.
So important.
Yeah, I don't want to be fishing for that every 3 or 4 days and fishing for that every 3 or 4 days, because that just delays things. It just delays getting the information, delays the process, actually.
And it really is a partnership in trying to get this transaction done, because, look, we've finally gotten the two people together, right? And now we got to give it to the third uninterested party person, which is the escrow.
Neutral.
Yeah. And, you know, they don't do anything that both parties don't agree to. And that includes returning EMD if it blows up.
That's correct.
So make sure that it doesn't blow up by setting everybody up and making sure everything's known by everybody up front, and everybody will be good to go. So I think that's it, unless you have any
No.
questions or no questions at home. We'll give you about 15 minutes of your time back today, so make some more phone calls or whatever it is you're doing to find more business. And go out there and, you know, thank you WFG, thank you Geraldine, thank you
You're so welcome.
Gina. And have a great day, you all. You that watch this on YouTube, don't forget to hit subscribe and like. Talk to you
Please
soon.
remember me when you're writing your next contract or accepting your next offer. Dynamite Adamite team's here for you. Thank you.
Thank you all.